What are the 70 nations? The Sanhedrin speaks. In this video, guys, we're going to look at an interview by Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz from Breaking Israel News. And it's an interview with the spokesperson from the Sanhedrin, Rabbi Hillel Weiss. And we're going to look at some details of the things that the Sanhedrin is planning. Now, before we get into this video, I just want to make an admonition, guys, that our battle is not against flesh and blood. Our battle is against spiritual entities, spiritual wickedness in high places. So let's not get into disparaging flesh and blood, guys. Let's remember this is a war. That's why I'm sharing this with you. I'm sharing this with you so you can see what's going on. Okay, this is a war that's going on. And this is the type of thing that's happening. Typically it's seen behind the scenes, but we're going to see pretty clear details in this video of what's going on, the plans for the third temple, etc.
Hi, I'm Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz. I'm a feature articles writer for Breaking Israel News. And for the last 4 years, I have had an amazing time writing about the re-emergence of the biblically mandated Sanhedrin of elders, which is the only way that the Bible really permits Israel to have a court system. And they've really been doing amazing things. Just to give you an idea, 4 years ago, I became familiar with them. They were putting the Pope and Obama on trial for going against the Bible by not recognizing that the land of Israel belongs to the Jews, that as it's written quite explicitly in the Torah.
Now, I just wanted to pause this and mention that we have a link in the description field of them taking Pope Francis and Obama to court. Like you said, that was 4 years ago, and we'll give you a link in the description field. But the rabbi that defended them actually was successful in acquitting them, the best I can tell. I'll put a link in the description field for you so you can see that what he's talking about there. So basically, the Sanhedrin is a judicial court. Most of you have found my YouTube channel as a result of me showing this Sanhedrin court that's already built underground in the Western Wall. So what we have here is Rabbi Hillel Weiss is a spokesman for that group, that organization. And in this interview, we're going to find out details of some of the things that they're doing.
And now, as this beautiful insignia tells us, the Sanhedrin is working hard to establish an organization of 70 nations. And I think you'd be surprised to find out what it's going to do, and even more surprised about what it's already done. And sitting with me is Rabbi Professor Hillel Weiss, who has, over the course of time, become not only an amazing source of stories, but a very dear friend. I brought him in so he could answer a few questions about this organization of the 70 nations, which I've been writing about, as you can see here. They've been working very hard towards it. They've invited Nikki Haley to be the honorary president. So I'd like to ask Rabbi Weiss a few questions. First of all, thank you so much for coming in, Rabbi Weiss. It's always a personal pleasure for me to meet with you. So tell me, the 70 nations, the organization of the 70 nations, where's this written in the Bible? How do we know about it?
Oh, it's written very precisely. There is a verse, God.
Now, when he's saying it's written very precisely, essentially what he's doing is quoting Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8. When the Most High divided the nations their inheritance, and when he separated the sons of Adam, he set bounds for the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Okay? So that's essentially where he's getting the numbers and boundaries of the nations. After Adam, of course, we had the flood, and Noah and his sons then repopulated the earth, and from them stemmed 70 nations.
The nations according the number of Israel. השם יצב גבולות עמים למספר בני ישראל. All the nations, all the descendants, it comes from the sons of Noah, they wanted to establish a huge building, a symbol, that is against God. They say from time to time there is a catastrophe. We should stop the tsunami by holding the sky. And then God himself went down to see what those human beings do.
So bear with this. I know there's a little bit of an accent, and I put captions so we can try to understand. But basically what he's talking about is what we call the Tower of Babel. So after the flood, there was the Tower of Babel, and he's talking about the scattering of the nations.
There are 70. There are all the people in the world, and also Israel. They are sons of Shem, Ham, Reuven. Shem was scattered, Ham was scattered, and Japheth was scattered.
So the three sons of Noah were scattered throughout the world, and with them the 70 nations. Now, pay close attention to what he says next.
Now the temple is a repentance, is a way back of all the nations to a building that is used for the work of Hashem, for the work, not a rebellion.
Okay. Now, so what he's saying is, because of what had taken place, there is a redemption, and now the 70 nations that were scattered at the Tower of Babel with different languages, now they are to assemble around the temple. Now you'll notice throughout this that Rabbi Weiss is using a name called Hashem. And some of you may not know what that is, but Ha in Hebrew is the, and Shem it just means name. So instead of using God's name, saying Yahweh, Elohim, they do sometimes say Shaddai, but he's using the name Hashem. So that name is just name. You're basically just saying the name. Now we know that Yahweh has a name, okay? So we should consider that, the name that they're using is not the name in the Bible. And what they're saying as well is that when the Jews build the temple and they bring the nations back, it's not for rebellion, right?
But the opposite. The same as Israel was exiled and the temple was destructed, Hashem destructed the Babylon Tower.
These are all things that are written in the Noahide laws. So in essence, the United Nations is anti-Noahide.
Exactly.
If you're wondering what the 7 Noahide laws are, these are laws from Noah that these organizations have come up with. You can do your own research. We're not going to take a lot of time in this video to discuss this. You can pause this and look up these various organizations and search online. Okay, this is the 7 soul properties, the 7 commandments, 7 divine emanations. Get your Hebrew certificate now. Learn how to read your personal code. Explore your destiny. Now, I just want to show you quickly the Sanhedrin 70 Nations Facebook page on the 7 Noahide laws. I will put links in the description field for this, and you can take the time and read this and go into more detail. So here we can just see basically the laws, don't do this, don't do that. Okay, the 7 levels of Gentile acceptance of the 7 commandments. Now, in a general sense, what's going on here is they are saying the 10 commandments are for the Jews, and for the Gentiles, you have to do this. Okay? And these are observances and different things. Take the time and read this. But what I want to point out is this. Let's focus in and make very clear. I'm on the Sanhedrin website, guys. Okay, here we go. Moses was commanded by the Almighty to compel all the inhabitants of the world to accept the laws given Noah's descendants. If one does not accept these laws, he should be executed. Did you hear that? If one does not accept these laws, he should be executed. This is what the Sanhedrin is saying. Let's keep this in mind as they talk about how wonderful this is and how great it is the nations will come together in peace.
Against the treaty of Noah and his son. This is the basic law. This is the deep law. And when the humanity are working against, they are going back to the Tower of Babylon, they will be destroyed. All of them to destroy the world.
So hopefully an organization of 70 nations will bring together all nations on some basis, it is a biblical basis.
Hopefully.
So would you call this religious?
Of course. Of course.
Religious Jewish or religious?
No, there is sub-Jewish. Noah was not a Jew. His sons were not Jews. We are not going to found a new religion. But we are applying to all the nations, to all the human beings, this responsibility with modesty. We are not speaking exactly like Jews.
Okay, some of this is a little bit difficult to understand, so I just want to type it out for you. Again, the question's asked, would you call this organization religious? Of course, it is religious. Is it Jewish? No. There is some Jewish. Noah was not a Jew. We are not going to found a new religion, but we are applying to all the nations, all human beings, for this responsibility. And what's the responsibility? The 7 Noahide laws.
Nation, peoplehood, and so on. And when we will understand it deeply, there will be much more love and responsibility between all the people.
You describe it very nicely. How can you not want something like that? But this won't be an organization of rabbis running the world.
No, chas v'sholem.
That means God forbid. Okay.
Okay.
Last year there was a creation of the world concert. It was a concert held on the day that, according to Jewish tradition, the entire world was created, which is something that every person in the world should give thanks for. And the Sanhedrin found one particular emissary to transfer to the Arab world and to Iran that they should take part in this organization of 70 nations. It's actually, in certain ways, transcends boundaries. It's reinforcing individual cultures, individual language, and borders, but at the same time, it's not based on political interests. It's based on spiritual, divine interests. Could this be a forum to help the world return to its spiritual roots, something that we all share, actually. But it could help with some very real issues we're coping with today. If we could sit down with Iran, then maybe we'd avoid some of the problems.
It's more the Persians, Iran.
The Persians, yes.
But it can be also Iran.
Yes.
We are not confiscated, not Erdogan, not Turkey, not Syria, not the enemies. Like in Athens, when there was the Olympics time, there was no wars. We are inviting, not we, the Bible invites all the nations to Jerusalem.
But the main point was, in the intermission, they invited up the ambassador of Honduras, the ambassador of Guatemala, and a delegation from Mexico. And they signed on to a charter for the Organization of the 70 Nations, in which they expressed intent to take part in it, that they would accompany Israel on our...
According to the prophecies, they will follow the people of Israel to the temple. Each year, let's say, at the tabernacle, but any time, like in the prayer of Solomon's, the king, that built the first temple, there is a prayer for the alien, for the non-Jews, when they are coming to the temple to pray for Hashem.
Yeah, that's a very important point. Implicit in this is a return to Zion, a return to their temple. There's a lot of disputes between religions about what exactly that means. And there's a lot of misunderstanding. It should be emphasized, and in a very simple way, that first of all, the first temple, when it was dedicated, the prayers of the non-Jews were one of the first things that Solomon said. The temple is not a Jewish synagogue. It's for the entire world. And in the same way, this organization is for the entire world. So, and the third temple will also require the entire world to be part of it. Part about is the world really needs us to take our place as what God wanted us to be, as a light unto the nations. Without the Jews, there's no temple, house of prayer for all nations.
You know, it's written in the Midrash, let's say in the Talmud, that if the non-Jews would know what is the meaning of the temple, they would run to do it.
Yes, yes. And you can put it the other way as well, that if this seems like an idea that you don't like, perhaps you don't understand it properly, or perhaps it's not coming out the way it should. But the temple should be something that's appealing to everyone. And this League of 70 Nations, the Organization of 70 Nations, is also very much something that should appeal to the entire world. So tell me, Rabbi,
I want to show you that if we go, there will be an exhibition about the future Jerusalem. And there is the building of the 70 nations. Also, there is a place for it. In the ancient Ba'ir Atika.
In the old city.
In the old city. And on the borders of Jerusalem. And
so there are plans to make this, it's not just a nice idea or a club. And it's moving forward very quickly. As I said at the beginning.
Okay, just to go over what he just said. He said there are plans in the old city of Jerusalem for a building for the 70 nations. Now, of course, we're going to see it's, one assembly hall for that. It's already there. It's already built. Now, as the Sanhedrin was talking about the plans in the old city of Jerusalem for the 70 nations, let's be reminded of what you're looking at right here. And that is the circular shape of 70 seats in this synagogue. Now he's saying that the 70 nations, the provision for them coming into the old city of Jerusalem is already planned. Now part of that, the Sanhedrin has 70 seats. You see that in Ezekiel chapter 8, as we've described in previous videos. Most of you have seen this footage. But isn't it interesting that we have 70 seats of the elders of the Sanhedrin, and we have 70 nations? And of course, he's saying that the rabbis are not over the nations, but it appears we have a 1-to-1 ratio, right? 70 elders, and then 70 nations. And of course, when we first reported on this the people scoffed. But then we had Mike Pompeo. And we had the president of Brazil visit this very room. So that certainly, well, hopefully got your attention. So this would be something for a meeting hall for the 70 nations, as would the other chambers like this we have shown you. Banquet halls. Doesn't this look like a place for dignitaries and important meeting halls? All this underground by the Western Wall. Okay, to also mention some of the nations that were participating in the concert, or will be participating coming up. There is Afghanistan, El Salvador, Trinidad, Tobago, Costa Rica, along with Guatemala, Mexico, and Honduras. Now, in this next section, he's going to talk about the Bahrain Economic Summit. This is the economic portion of the peace plan. And it's difficult for him to understand what he's saying. I've tried to write it down, but what I want you to know is that the Sanhedrin is making suggestions on the peace deal. And he's saying things here like to establish electromagnetic something, and he's talking about the African rift that divides the 3 continents. And then he's going to talk about the economic interest of all countries in one system over the globe. And it's going to be like a river of life from Eden. Peace. Okay? So let's listen to what he says. Like I said, this is a little bit difficult to understand what he's saying, but I think it's important to include.
Something that you already published, it's look totally crazy, but it is not. When there was the Bahrain conference, the Sanhedrin suggested, according to real programs, to establish routes of electromagnetic trains. First of all, through the crack of Syrian African, according to Israel, that combines 3 continents. And there are some systems in the world of the electromagnetic trains. In Japan, the Shinkansen, the Shangri-La, and also the TGV and so on. Now the economic interest of all the countries and nations is that all those routes will be in one system all over the globe. Now, all the modern facilities to send oil, a letter from door to door, with all the ways, with all the facilities, the world is changing. It's like to put in the world a river of life. Like from Eden, there was one river that was separated to 4. And this is the peace. One of the Noahide laws, because of the flood, is not to steal, not to theft. And if you theft even 1 coin, you are a criminal. Now the problems of the currencies in the world and the competition of currencies, sometimes it's advancing some economy, but mostly there are coming demons like the cryptologic bitcoins that destroy the world. So all the banks have an overbank. They have 1 coin that has a covering in goods, in gold, like in the old times. The coin is not just to print papers. Someone has to be responsible for what is behind.
Okay, so there we could see the influence of the Sanhedrin. We saw their chamber of hewn stone. This is a video from the Temple Institute on the chamber of hewn stone. They have another video describing the plans for the third temple. You can see throughout this, the third temple is the utmost importance. But so is the organization of the 70 nations, okay, to bring nations into a covenant, into an agreement of what? The 7 Noahide laws, right? Well, this synagogue or this assembly, this place called the Chamber of Hewn Stone, this is what they do. They judge these matters. You can see them talking about influencing Donald Trump with the economic summit, okay? Talking about cryptocurrency, talking about the 7 Noahide laws. And this is what Christ warned us. He warned us about false Christ, false prophet in the hidden chambers, in the desert. So this is, we've shown you the hidden chambers. We've shown you this, okay? And Christ said, don't believe that's the Messiah. That's not the Messiah that's going to go in there, okay? But Christ said, ever I taught in the synagogue and in the temple. So this is the synagogue that is spoken of by Christ in Revelation chapter 2 verse 9 and 3 verse 9. And guys, let's remember our war is not against flesh and blood, but this is the synagogue of Satan. This is the war right here. So this is a whole playlist I have on the third temple. This is another part to that, to look at what the Sanhedrin is doing. We will keep an eye on other things that they declare. You talk about the coin. We're showing the David coin, the Donald Trump coin. Anything else that's coming up, we will keep you abreast of. So thanks for watching, and God bless you.